Hi, and welcome to another edition of Talking About series. My name is Brett Ryan. I'm the CEO of Focus on the Family Australia, and we're going to be talking about the affirming words all kids, especially your teens, need to hear. And unfortunately, in our fast-paced world, and I say that often, is that we don't spend time with our kids, building up that healthy relationship with our kids. So when they go through the ups and downs in life, they know that we are on their team. And that's the reason why I'd like to give you 7 helpful things or tips, the words that your kids need to hear on a regular basis. Unfortunately, far too many young people are doing it tough. Mental health issues, self-harming, anxiety, depression is on an all-time rise. But mums and dads, we can do a lot in that time as they're growing up before it becomes a big issue. There are no guarantees, I know that. You can do everything right and your child can still have some other issues. But I'm here to encourage you that if you put these things into practice on a regular basis, it won't be as bad, or if not, it won't even occur at all. So we go as parents, as they go a bit older, going from easily controlling them and knowing exactly what they're doing. So we go from managing them and protecting them to coaching them and preparing them for the realities of this world. Many people ask me, what's the best time as a parent? And I'd say bring back the nappy years any day of the week, just because you know exactly what they're doing. It may be a lot laborious and a lot more physically taxing, but as they get older, there are a lot more other issues that they're going to deal with. And that's the reason why you need to have that healthy relationship with your children, because you're preparing them for the real world. You coach them rather than manage them. Kids are predominantly resilient. They can bounce back. They have the ability to, control when things aren't going so well. But we also know that some kids don't do as well when things aren't going to plan. And your job as mums and dads is to prepare them to become more resilient, not trying to protect them and put them in bubble wrap, and to make sure that they never have any bad things happen. They need to face the consequences of poor choices, and they need to go and face the consequences if they forget their lunch or they forget their homework or forget their runners, and all those things. That prepares them for the realities. We can't protect them from the big bad world all the time. They need to face the consequences, but you also need to encourage them to have that resilience when things don't go to plan. One of the things that kids do often is they spend a lot of time and energy trying to fit into the crowd. And when they're at home, they're a different person. Or when they're with other people, they're a different person. So we actually understand that different places means that there'll be a different way of relating to them. But the home should be a haven, or you say that often. The place should be that they can be themselves. Doesn't mean that they can be disrespectful and not courteous and those things. We need to actually have that mutual respect, but they should feel safe and they can be themselves at home. And just like how your kids grow and change, you as parents need to adapt and change also. And remember, all your kids, especially if you have 2 or 3 or more, they're all uniquely wired, and you can't parent them exactly the same. One of the things that often parents will say is that, how do you get them to start making wise choices? How do you get them to do what you want them to do? Well, when they're going through the process of adolescence particularly, they're trying to fit into the world. They're trying to find out why and think and how and all these questions, and they're saying, back off, mum and dad, I've got this. And you want to give them some space, but you also want to maintain that relationship with them. And so you go away from the changes from not necessarily informing them and telling them, but rather allowing them to come to their own conclusions. And it may be different from your normal values and belief systems, but when they've actually had their aha moment, you have to allow them, but you can always ask them questions. Have you considered? What are your thoughts about this? And get them to start thinking. So instead of telling them, just coaching them, allowing them to come to their own aha moment. Because you've got life experience, mums and dads. You've got the ability to know through life and all the expertise that you have developed over the years, but your kids haven't had that luxury. So sometimes just simply asking lots of questions can be the best way for your kids to make wise and informed decisions. So we've got to keep the lines of communication open and not to always judge, but just to allow them to be heard, be listened to, even validate. Yeah, it must be really tough. I can understand why you're frustrated. I can understand why you're angry. I can understand why you're annoyed. Validating them, not be dismissive, but allow them to be themselves. Because your job is to build their self-esteem and their self-confidence to face the world. I heard this great quote, and it says, the way that we talk to our kids becomes their inner voice. So the words that we affirm, the words that we build up, the words that we encourage, they're the things that are going to fill up their self-esteem, their self-worth, their confidence, because the world's going to poke holes in them. It's like their bucket. They're going to poke holes in them. And our job is to build them up, not to blow up their tires just for the sake of it, like you're the best. And, if they haven't given their best, don't praise it, because you know what their best is, but encourage them to be who God wants them to be. And our words need to be encouraging. In fact, it says in Ephesians 4:29, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as good for your building up as it fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear it. So our job is to build up and encourage them to be the very best version of themselves. Not be negative, not be destructive, but to build them up. And it goes on in 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up. And mums and dads, we have an incredible first voice privilege to encourage, to build them up when they're under your roof. Because there's going to be so many things that are going to try and tear them down, and we need to build them up. So here are 7 things that I think all parents need to give to their kids on a regular basis, especially teens. The first one is, you're brave for trying. I mean, that seems very simple, brave for trying, because many kids don't want to do things out of the ordinary or take risks because they fear that someone might be videoing them or pointing a finger at them, and they want to be 100% all the time. They want to be perfect. They want to be at the apex of everything that's going on in the world. But if they try something and got out of their comfort zone, I'd encourage you just to say, hey, I'm really, really proud of you for trying. It's really brave of you to do that. Acknowledge their effort, not necessarily their results. Because they're going to make mistakes, and that's how we learn. We learn through our mistakes. We learn through our errors. We learn from our failures. So it's good for them to know that you acknowledge that they are trying their best. So the first thing is, you're brave for trying. The second thing you need to encourage them to say is, you just haven't got it yet. And I even use this language often in adult world. They might get frustrated. One of my work colleagues, or find that they haven't got the 100%, or their kids are a bit older, and in life, I'd often say, you haven't got it yet. Just simply putting that extra word means that it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect, but you're developing. You're practicing makes perfect. And again, reinforcing, praising the effort, not necessarily the results. You haven't got it yet. And often kids need to know that, there's room for improvement. There's a gap between where they are now and where they would want to be. So there is room to move. If you go, oh, you've got it, and they really haven't got it, it's like they're playing a musical instrument, and it sounds a bit awful, and they're getting frustrated, and I wish I could get this. I wish I could get it. And you go, you haven't got it yet, which means I know that you're trying. I know you're making an effort, but you haven't got there yet. But I believe in you, and good on you for trying. Another thing you need to do as parents is you need to encourage them that they can do hard things. You know, there's going to be times when things are going to be difficult. There's things that are frustrating. There's things that are annoying. There's difficult assignments. There's difficult people. There's difficult teachers. You know, acknowledging those things, that they can get through it. They can get through the hard times. And especially if you role model this, when you're going through a stressful time, when you're going through an anxious time, when you're going through a difficult time, they need to see that you're going through it, not giving up, throwing up your hands in disbelief and frustration, but you can do this. I believe in you. I encourage you to continue pursuing and practicing until you have got it. And we need to encourage the little steps. You know, you don't expect them to have everything all at once, but encourage them with bite-sized steps. Hey, you've got that? Hey, that was difficult. You don't expect them to be able to become a brain surgeon all at once, but they have to learn the anatomy of the brain. You know, for example, you know, there's a progression. Now that's a big step, I know, probably a poor analogy, but it's a progression. They don't going to get everything all at once. It's an ongoing thing. It's similar to starting to ride a bike. You know, it seems really hard. It seems impossible. But, you know, you have your training wheels, and then you take one of the training wheels off, and then you might hold on to the seat. But it's progression. It's these little steps, and you celebrate those steps. You celebrate the wins. And then they can start building that confidence that, hey, I can do this. Because they are going to be faced with hard things in their work life. They're going to face hard things in their family life in the future. They're going to face difficult times. And if they build up that rapport, that confidence, that they could get through things and not give up and throw up their hands in disbelief and frustration, you're encouraging them that they can do things, even if they're hard. And the fourth one is similar to that, is that you've got this. You've got this. Even though it's hard, even though it's difficult, good on you for trying. You know, all these words that build up a relationship with your kid, that they're going to feel more confident that mum and dad are on my team. I know when my boys were playing sport, they would often know where I was in the crowd by simply my voice. They may not be able to see me, but they often look for me in the crowd because they knew I was on the sidelines cheering them on. And they want to make me proud. They want to do their very best. They were looking out for me, and your kids need to know the same thing. That no matter how many frustrations or failures they make, that you're going to be cheering them on. You are their number one cheerleader. When they make mistakes or they fall over, you shake them off and dust them off and get them back up on the horse again, so to speak. You know, because they're wanting your affirmation that you have got this. Fifth thing that I would want every child to know from their parents is you only need to compare with yourself. Because so many young people are trying to, you know, see someone else who's more pretty, more handsome, more skilled, more academic, more everything else. But you have to instill in them that they don't have to compare with other people. They don't have to compare or have other thoughts of feeling of inadequacy. All they need to know is that you think that they are special, that they are okay, that you have got this, as I said before, but they don't want to compare with everyone else. They need to be able to stand up for themselves and give of their very best, and that's vitally important. As long as they're giving their best, what more can you do? And they need to run their own race, not somebody else's race. They can be so busy comparing themselves on social media and look at this person's doing this activity and look at this person who's eating this great meal, looking at this person, they can feel so inadequate trying to keep up with the Joneses. But you need to let them know that I don't care what other people think or do or act, anything like that. I only want you to compare yourself and nobody else. The sixth thing that I'd encourage parents to affirm their kids is with, you can't control what happens, but you can control your emotions. And that same thing goes with you, mum and dad. We need to know that we got to control our emotions. You hear this often when kids say, oh, he made me, or she did this, and I did such and such, and they made me do what I didn't want to do. No. You can't control everything that goes around the world, and you can't control everything that's happening. You can't control what your friends say or do, but you can control your emotions. So you can't make somebody get angry unless you want to become angry. You can't make them hit somebody if they don't want to be hit. We need to encourage our young people to know that they have full control of their emotions. They can't control everything around them. They can't control what the teacher says. They can't control what their friends do, but they can control how they respond. And mums and dads, we need to control that as well. Be good role models when it comes to our responses. It is paramount that our kids need to hear these final affirming statement, and that is that you are loved at your best and you are loved at your worst, which means it's unconditional love. We shouldn't actually withhold our love until they deserve it, until they get that great grade, or until they perfect their musical score or get the best in their artwork or whatever academic performances. No, we need to show our love unconditionally, because that's how God shows his love to us. Our love shouldn't be based on performance. We just love because he first loved us, which makes us enabled to love others, and especially our kids. It says in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8, above all else, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Our kids are going to stuff up. Our kids are going to make mistakes. Our kids are going to do things that we don't like, but they need to know that we are always on their team, that they can always come back to you. And it's not going to come and bite them back on the butt and say, I told you so. No, they need to know that you will always be there no matter what. And as it says in John chapter 15, verse 12, my command is this: love each other as I have loved you. And our kids need to know that God loves them more than they would ever know, and God loves them unconditionally, and we need to role model that to our children. If we at Focus on the Family can be of any blessing to you or any help and send you resources, please don't hesitate contacting us at families.org.au. God bless.